On paper, Iran should be one of the wealthiest nations on Earth. It sits on a literal gold mine of natural resources, ranking third globally in oil production and second in natural gas. It has a highly strategic geographic location bridging the Middle East and Asia, and a young, highly educated population ready to work. By all conventional metrics, Iran has the exact recipe required to be a global economic superpower. Yet, its economy is failing and its people are struggling. So, how does a country with so much potential end up in a paralyzing economic crisis? The answer is a complex web of internal mismanagement, geopolitical ambitions, and crushing external pressure. Let's look inside the country first. One of the biggest roadblocks to Iran's economic success is a unique, deeply entrenched system known as the bonyads. Boneyards are essentially massive charity trusts, but in reality, they act as giant, untouchable business empires that control a staggering 20% of the entire Iranian economy. They own factories, real estate, and financial institutions. But here's the catch: they don't pay taxes and they don't publish financial reports. They operate in total secrecy and are highly inefficient. So why doesn't the government reform them? Because these boneyards employ millions of Iranians. Attempting to dismantle them or tax them would cost millions of jobs, making them politically untouchable. But the systemic inefficiency doesn't stop there. The Iranian government is trapped in a massive financial black hole of its own making: subsidies. Every year, the government spends roughly 100 billion US dollars to subsidize fuel and food for its citizens. It is a massive drain on the national budget. But the government is caught in a trap. Whenever they try to reduce these subsidies to save money, the cost of living spikes, immediately triggering massive nationwide protests. They can't afford to keep paying them, but they can't afford the political fallout of stopping them either. And while the internal economy is incredibly strained, the outside world has effectively locked Iran out. Decades of severe US and international sanctions have crippled Iran's ability to participate in the global economy. They are blocked from freely selling their massive oil reserves and cut off from the global banking system. To survive, Iran has to rely on a vast underground network of black market smuggling just to import essential everyday goods. This shadow supply chain is incredibly expensive, and those costs are passed directly down to the Iranian consumer. For the everyday Iranian citizen, this combination of internal mismanagement and external sanctions has led to a financial nightmare: hyperinflation. Over the last decade, the Iranian rial has lost over 90% of its value. To cover its massive budget gaps, like those $100 billion subsidies, the government simply prints more money. This reckless printing has driven annual inflation to over 40%. Imagine your life savings losing nearly half of its purchasing power every single year. This panic has led to a bizarre economic phenomenon. Everyday citizens are flocking to the Iranian stock market in droves. They aren't investing to grow their wealth. They are desperately buying stocks just to park their cash in physical assets to protect their savings from evaporating into thin air. You would think a country facing such severe domestic crises would focus every remaining dollar inward, but that isn't the case. Geopolitics plays a massive role in Iran's financial drain. The government spends billions of dollars funding and arming regional proxy groups across the Middle East. For domestic critics, this is a bitter pill to swallow. They argue that those billions are desperately needed at home to fix crumbling infrastructure, create jobs, and stabilize the economy. Ultimately, the tragedy of the Iranian economy is a paradox of plenty. Iran has the natural wealth, the geography, and the human talent to thrive, but instead it remains paralyzed by bureaucracy, geopolitical conflict, and international isolation. And the heaviest cost of this crisis isn't measured in barrels of oil or the value of the currency. It's measured in human potential. Facing a bleak economic future, Iran's brightest minds, its doctors, engineers, and entrepreneurs are leaving the country in droves.
This massive brain drain is estimated to cost the Iranian economy an astonishing $150 billion every single year. Until the internal inefficiencies are fixed and the external walls come down, Iran's greatest export won't be its oil, it will be its talent, leaving behind a superpower that never was.